Hello, welcome to this video. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and as titled, this is going to be a 2024 numerology breakdown. I want to start off quickly by just giving sort of my disclaimer in general, that I don't claim to be some kind of expert. I'm not saying, I have X, Y, and Z reference points of numerology and I have some kind of certifications or licenses or anything like that. This is simply created and interpreted through my own understandings of the way that numbers work. And when we look at numerology, and if you are familiar with numerology, then you'll understand that there's a real growth pattern at work through the meanings and the designations, and that it's very organically inspired, and it represents great truths underneath each number and each building block. And when you learn the language and you see what they're representing, there's not really two ways about interpreting it, It's pretty much straightforward in its presentation. That's why I really love numbers, and I refer to numerology a lot. If you're interested in it and it's totally new to you, I have a couple of videos. I'll find them and link them in the comments or description. One of them is a basic walkthrough of sequential growth, and that will teach you all about what the numbers actually mean and the patterns that they follow. And then I have another video, I think, that is about more of like a numerological view of gematria and how we link together numbers and letters and meanings and stuff like that. So I'll look for those and I'll put those in for people who are interested in kind of seeing the breakdown. But for today and for this video here, I really want to talk about 2024 and what's ahead for us and what we will see percolating and evolving and changing through the whole year. Now, when we look at numerology, first and foremost is important about understanding sequential growth of 0 through 9 and what the base foundations, the building blocks are. But as we start to grow numbers up and out of single digits, there's many different ways that we can interpret that and look at them, read them. And for me, I'm going to explain my own personal understandings and just leave it at that. Feel free to understand it in different ways, to seek out different reference points and teachers who say different things. But this is just my own explanation for offer here. As the place values grow in a number, each place value has its own ripple of space, basically, working. And inside this ripple that it is extended out is new ground. However, it is built off the ground before, right? Just like the initial drop is the meaning, and then we have the 1 ripple, 2 ripple, 3 ripples outside of it, right? They all come from that initial drop that has happened, and they're all part of the water. It's just a different form that has extended out after. It's sort of subsequently, and that's why I call it sequential. Although, there are plenty of times that things change and switch and jump, repeat, and we have, beautiful stars that you could look at as an organic guidance for that. We have stars that go retrograde, right? Everything isn't always as it seems, and it doesn't always flow in this forthright linear pattern, but there is always a representation of purpose and functionality behind the reasons why it looks like it's backtracking, repeating, skipping, or whatever the case might be. But just for basics and just to understand it here, classic numerology reduces a large number down to single digits. And that is a great purpose. It holds the whole concept. It gives you sort of the image of the main point of what's happening in that number, or the message of the number. But there's also great interpretations for each place value. And to understand that the larger the number is, and the further from that one spot, the single digit, that we get, there are sort of seniority rules that become applied the larger the number is, and what number it is, and all of that. Now, to give an example and to speak in plain terms about this, about the year, right? 2024, we have 4 place values. We have 2024, right? Now, we talk about years of birth, and we talk about numerology in the aspect of looking at the year. It's so important to remember that this is a collective placeholder. That's a reflection of all the layers of the collective in their own language or their own key. You know, it's the tune plate, it's the note plate and the key. And as we look at the years, right? For our structure and understanding through humanity, right? Generally, we'll look at the 2 front-running years together: the 1900s, the 1800s, the 2000s, right? That first thousands and the hundreds placed together have a long-standing companionship that they've worked through. And this is, it's quite obvious and it's logical, because how long is 100 years, right? Those two work together on this great theme for a very long time. They're long-standing themes. And it's important that we understand both the initial theme of the 1,000-year, that holds as a template marker for all of the workings through, 10 through 19 in there, and think of the hundreds. Think of that time period of representation of themes, right? There's themes there. I won't get too into it. I don't want to get into lifelong themes here. I'm going to keep this video short. But just as a glance, just to understand and get a taste for it, this is what I'm talking about, right? So there's themes. The 2000s have their own theme. 20 has a beautiful message and theme behind it when we look at the number of 20. And 20 in itself, right, we have the 2 as in the higher space, in the seniority position. I like to look at it as a position of seniority, an umbrella. And all things must be filtered and through the focus of the umbrella of the first, of the senior number. And in 20, it's 2, right? So we have a great, large senior theme of duality, of contrasts, of this or that. Also, within that comes partnerships, because what's the lessons really of contrasting? To realize you're not so different after all, right? And to partner up and to say, hey, wait, I'm good at that, you're good at this. We can do this that we couldn't do without each other, because you're good at that and I'm good at this. That's the lessons here, and we'll be working through them in such beautiful ways. And we have been already through all of 2000s, right? And it aligns beautiful with the age of Aquarius and the dawning of New Earth and all these things. And of course they all go together because it's the truth. They're reflections of the same message echoing out through the universe. The ripple effect from larger bodies down to smaller bodies. And you feel the filtration through. Now, so with 20 here, we have, of course, the partnerships and everything, and the newness of creation, and these sort of soul flame-esque contrasts coming together to create new things, because we have 20 with the 0 next to it, right? It's got the giant placeholder. Anything and everything is possible. We're starting from 0. Anything that you could imagine that is under the scope of partnership and doing things together, and all the goods and bads that come with that, that's what we're talking about. That's what 20 is, right? And now when we extend and we look at the seniority, it's not actually just 2024, it's 2024, right? So the lessons of 20, think of what we just talked about. Now add in some gravity, some zeros, some more time, some more place to really get through how long this 2 is available for working for 2,000 years, for 1,000 years, right? And like I said, it's that common sense, it's that basic, and it's that obvious as well. That all of these, as we move through the years, different lessons are built upon it and become available because we've moved through others. Is a gradual sequential building, right? And you can do reflective, just like I said about 17, 18, 1900s, and looking at the changes and seeing the theme through there. Through the 2000s, look at your life and see the differences if you were alive in the 90s to the 2000s, right? And you can see and sense and feel the shifts. Now, when we bring in and we talk about the whole of the 2000s only, even, you can see the changes and go back and look from 2001 through 2012. And then from 2012, again, and hit up to 24, right? And we have these two 12-year cycles that we could look at, and you can compare and think about and watch the numbers and see your lessons build through your life in this way. And this will give you a great heads up onto where you're going in your own life too. And like I said, I don't want to get too caught up in the years and building up this because I wanted to just talk about 2024. But if you're interested, and I hope maybe you've got some keywords, you can do your own exploration in that and find your own truths and synchronicities there and that beautiful work that's there. But for 2024, we have the same lessons, of course, that we're going to be going through with all that I've talked about the 20 starting. With 24, now, we have well, I don't want to talk about the whole year first, we'll just talk about 20. I hate to break it into 2024 because we don't look at the number like that anyways. But just to know that we do call it 2024, we do say 2023, 2020, all of these things. And the way that numbers are spoken out is really actually important, and it does matter to the implications about how we work through the lessons at hand. So just for that reason, I will talk 2024 for 1 minute and say the 2024 combination 24, right? We have the two same lens of looking at things through partnerships, through contrast and duality, through extremes of this or that's, but with the 4 of looking at our foundations, looking at those things which we believe to be solid, which we believe we're built upon, which we think are truths, which those things we really want to anchor into, and seeing how solid and firm they are, creating more solidity for them if we need to, or letting things fall that are not real. And that's really what 2024 means. How we look at those things that represent the 4s for us, and how we get through disruptions with those things that we think create stability and security. Financial abundance and these kinds of things are all representative of the 4. 4 pillars of a home. Whatever it feels to you, those things, those crucial things that hold you up, that's those things that you're called to look at, to find contrast between, to find the we're not so different, you and I, kind of setting. With your fears about losing 4s, and with your delights and dreams about having all the 4 you could, finding that middle ground and understanding that actually nothing ever really changes your sovereign worth, your gift at life, your beingness of here. That's a huge lesson with the 4s, and we'll see that through 2024 as well. Now, to understand and break it into the whole, right, we have 2024. The 4 and that message of those pillars and foundations, those roots and things that represent the 4 is only in the 1 space on that number. So we have to remember it's the newest add-on, it's the newest things to be looked at with fresher eyes, and that they are the main focus, but not the majority of the concept at hand, right? The lessons at hand are not about the main focus. The main focus brings out the lessons at hand. And the lessons at hand are those larger numbers, and we have double 2s and a 0, so it's really going to be about finding middle ground between contrasts. Now, to add the whole number up, 2024 comes out to 8, right? Because we have 2 plus 0, still 2, plus 2 more is 4, plus 4 is 8. And we have 8. Now, just to look at 2024 and its meaning of 8 and having the repercussions of 8 coming in now is such an luminous message I could talk about for hours, honestly, because the karmatic repercussions that are coming through this year are just going to be waves and waves of it. It's just going to wash over us, never, just like a lemniscatic figure 8. It's going to, just like the flow and ebb and flow of the oceans and the tides and the waves come in and pull out and come in and pull out. that's going to be the motion, the feel, the atmosphere of the year. And it's very important, it's very crucial. This is a cleansing, detoxing. This is natural ebb and flow, the balancing forces of organic nature coming in and setting the tone and re-guiding and reaffirming and getting us all to remember that there is a structure, there is a flow here, there is a guidance here. Whenever you get lost in the chaos, whenever the complexity is too much, you can always reroute back down. Find that lemniscatic flow of give and take, of in and out, the balance that is signified in that. And that isn't just what 8 represents either. 8 is all about retribution or consequences, good or bad, the coming back of those things which you've already built, you've already mastered, because 8 comes after 7 and 6 and 5, right? And you've already been through the chaotic, tumultuous perseverance. You've already mastered the thing. You've already really got a good grip on it. Now is the time for the bigger picture. Now is the time for the washing over and the remembering, I am not a master of everything just because I've mastered this one thing. How does this one little thing I've mastered incorporate into the big picture? Let's look at that and integrate that. And to remember that I might be a master on the small scale, but just like a big fish in a little pond, when I go to the ocean, right, I'm not going to be so big anymore. The 8 is that getting ready to step at the threshold of the 9 and get into the ocean and interact. And it's a big time for a lot of work. A lot of times, 8s can really have, like, people think it's like a financial business-minded thing. And it is, because, 8 is built of 4. Of 2 4s, right? And so, yes, there is a money-mindedness to it. There is a financial balancing aspect of it. But the great calling and lesson in the 8 is to also remember that that is a skill that is nuanced, that is specialized, and should be used and angled with mastery in that specialty only. And it doesn't make you a master in all other areas, right? That's really the regrounding of 8 that prepares us for 9, that prepares us to take on in completion and to represent as a whole, and to bring on what that takes on, to be a whole and to actually to represent yourself. And we'll talk about that next year. But bringing into 2024, it's going to be the year of payoffs. The little things that you've been doing these last 4 years are going to pay off, or they're going to show face. If you've been doing little good works all the time, you've been standing up for yourself, seeking your truth, doing things that feel right to you, and seeking your balances, you're going to be rewarded with the end of the goal at sight here. Because 8 reminds us, yeah, we're almost there. We're basically there. It's done. All the work's pretty much done. 1 through 7, wow, we've done a lot, right? So it's a great time to remember and harken back to your truths, all the hard work that you've done, and it's going to pay off. You're going to have some success, some kind of goal reached, or a marker known. It's paying off. Conversely, if you have been cutting corners the whole time and lying and ditching and dodging these people and this and that thoughts and these things, well, all those little things have come to pile up now, and it's too much to ignore anymore. So those are the 2 themes that are really going to be faced with all of us in different ways throughout the whole year. The last thing that I really want to talk about with the numerology of the year is that the final breakdown of actually, the 2s and the 4s here, because they all come together to make 8, right? And when we look at 8, and when we have to remember, how was this number made up, right? How did it come together? Because, yeah, it reduces down to 8. The main story is 8. But let's see how it came together and how it will come together for us. And that means, let's start at seniority and look down and read kind of the number, right? And we have our 2000 as our starting. So we have a second cycle of thousands happening. So we have a built of an initial already. We have the theme already going. We're into the second round of it. We've chosen a point and a marker to go by that's already long passed through all of the 1900s, all of that. It's already rolled over into 2 and become the contrasts of the initial seeking. And for us and for humanity, it has been and it will be, built on the single idea of humanity evolving over time and evolving over the same sequential growth pattern that everything else follows. And if we look to the sequential growth pattern to remember, where we're at, then we can kind of remember the longevity and the great magnitude and gravity of the lessons at hand. So 2000, we have a space for the zero holder, and then we have the other two. And the two in the tens place here, right, basically means that, okay, so we have our initial seniority of 2. We have this overcasting umbrella here of lessons about duality and contrasts within ourselves, within humanity, right? Secondly is a giant placeholder. Anything can happen. So our theme for the hundreds, anything. We haven't even chosen it. We haven't even got there yet, so it could be anything at this point. Everything and anything is available to explore through the next 100 years, basically. So let's jump down into 2, and let's see what the designation of the 10-year is. Again, we have 2, contrast and duality. This or that. Male, female, seeing great divisions. It's really no wonder why we have everything really, really getting into great divisions and dividing itself up and building into extremes and allowing those divisions to really amplify and showcase what they can become on their own. And that's important to develop over time, right? And as you can see, we're really letting extremes go right now. And over the since 2020, you can tell the difference in how the extremes have been being allowed to be built up in the 10s marker and the 20s. They hold great gravitude. They seep in everywhere. They are an expansive web that is every single interaction that happens in everyday life is happening under and within. And it will show its face and show up in all different varieties, in all different ways. And when we watch and look and grow 2020 to 2021, 2022, 2023, you can see through the growth, through the numbers, the lessons that we've been doing and shaking out and getting through. And we have just made it through 2023, right? Which the 3 was all about like creative outbursts, inner child, like scenarios of, the artists up and down, the having the muse and then the lack of it, and then the muse and the lack is a big theme that comes along with 3s. And the big theme with 3, of course, is learning to balance those things, learning how to use your creative momentum in a beneficial way to create stability and to not be jerking around and like a child, basically, just like coloring outside the lines and everything. They have the drive and the notion and the want to do these things, but there's not the skill set yet. It's not tangible. They have to make a mess first to learn those more nuanced, intricate movements and to find the attention and the capacity to focus and to make the drawing look complete and to color within the lines and then to build up all the other things that come along with that, right? Those are the kind of things we went through with 2023. That's the lessons of the 3. Very obvious. And we have a lot of childlike energy happening in personalities everywhere, in the collective and individuals in 2023, building those up in extreme ways and tantrums and all that comes along with that. 2024 is going to bring in balance. It's going to say, oh, all these extremes are too much. We need to see what's real here and affirm ourselves in actual foundation points. And so you should definitely take a cue from the organic world at this time and work in your own place to sort of go over your corners and your pillars and see, are there cracks? Are they weak here? Do they shake or not? And why and how, and do I need to reaffirm them, or do they need to actually be taken down and I need to move it over 5 inches and put it here? You know, you've got to get the level out and really look at every single marker and measure it. And is it off or on? How honest am I being with myself about this? Is it on level or not? And correct it if it isn't. And if it is, beautiful, let's build on it. That's the kind of ideas and themes that we're going to see for 2024. And it's beautiful because when we see the ones holder of the year here in 2024, and this our focus is always on the first newest number, right? And 4 plus 4 is 8. And how wonderful to know this doubling effect of our foundation and our focus, and doubling down on your fours, your firm foundations, your truths, those things that you are good at, reaffirming them, going back to the basics, so to speak, right? And really mastering and enabling yourself to be the strongest version of yourself that you can is the message for 2024. And I guess, yeah, to just recycle back. Woo! And sorry, my chair's only got 3 legs and it's like a bit wobbly. To just reattach it and reaffirm it back to 8 into the cyclic, karmatic message of the number 8. Just like we know 4 plus 4 is always going to give us 8, we should know that 8 is always built out of a strong foundation of 4 and 4, right? Strong pillars coming together and meeting together and building and creating the space that is the number 8. That 8 is always reflective of your inner truths, of the real work you've done, of the honest or dishonest things that you've been doing. And there's no two if, ands, or buts, two ways about it. Because it is built up, that 8 is literally made of 4 plus 4, And so again, just to reiterate and allow people to remember that this coming year, this 8 year, is really all about retribution. And whether it comes as good or bad consequences for you, it is what it is because it's already built up on the 4s, already done with the work you've already done. And this is the great beauty in it too. If you always stay conscious in your moments and you do good work for yourself, you do honest work in all the little moments, you'll never worry about what's building up and how the 8's going to turn out because you know. And conversely, if you know that you haven't done that work, well, then it's the time to face the music. And the best way to do that is just to face it as it is, to just cop up and say, I know I haven't done X, Y, and Z. I didn't do it. What now? And you see what you can do with the space you have now. And that's the best thing that we can do. And so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me this morning to listen to our numerology for this year. And you can check my channel if you're looking for things. Telegram, I'm always putting up links to my podcasts, new blogs, videos here on YouTube and stuff. So if you find me on YouTube and you're looking for me in the meantime, you could always find me over on Telegram or directly on my website, of course, amariespeaks.com. So thank you, as always, for listening and hearing. I hope that these messages have made their way into you and your life and will help you and guide you along for this year to come, prepare you for what we're going to be seeing. And, I guess I will see you next time.